video, let us see how to create the URL shortener using Python. Now you don't have to go to the third-party website to create the short URL. You can create your own URL shortener using Python. So let me show you the demo first so that you can understand what project that we are building. You consider this is the Python project URL shortener. And here you have to paste the long URL. And if you paste the long URL, you will get the short URL. So for example, I have pasted a URL here, and if I click on shorten, you consider I have got this URL. And when I click on that, it goes to the google.com. And you can enter any website here. Now you don't have to go to the any online URL shorteners like the Bitly or any TinyURL or any websites. You can create your own URL shortener from this Python tutorial. And the cool thing is that you can also short this URL shortener also. So let me copy this URL and then we're gonna paste it into our URL shortener now. So paste it here and click on shorten. And if I click on this shorten URL, let me open this new tab. Consider it will redirect to that short URL. So, and the only problem that I have is the domain name. Since I have using the Python Anywhere free versions, I have got this long URL. But if you have your domain name, you can customize this to a short URL only. Short, that is the short domain. That I have deployed this website in hosting platform called the Python Anywhere. Since the Python Anywhere provides a free domain, you consider this the free domain that I got for this project that I have deployed here. That's why the URL is long. But if you are having a premium plan, you can just enter your custom domain here. That is the only problem. But other than that, everything is cool, right? You can create your own URL shortener. So we don't have to rely on the external URL shortener library websites. So let us see how to create this Python URL shortener project. Let's get started. Consider I have a project holder open in the VS Code. Let's install the libraries that we need for this project. So open your command prompt and type pip install Flask. So we're going to use the Flask to create the URL shortener. You consider requirement already satisfied. Let's create a Python file now. So app.py is our Python file. So inside this, let's import the libraries that we need for this project. So from the Flask, we're going to import the Flask class. Along with that, we need to import the request library, redirect library, and we need the render template because we want to render the HTML files, and we need the URL for. And let's also import other libraries, that is the random, because we want to generate random 6 digits, right, for the short code. And we also need the string, so import string, and we need the database, so import SQLite. And finally, we need the import wire. So these are the libraries that we need. First, let's create a database to store our long URL as well as the short URL. And app equal to, let's create a Flask app now. So inside this party underscore underscore name underscore underscore. First, let's create the database now. So let me comment this, create the database to store the long URL as well as the shortened URL. So db equal to, or we can say database name equal to. So let me change this to database name. So db name equal to, the name I'm gonna give is urls.db. So this is our database. So if the database not present, it will be created automatically. So you don't worry. So let's create a connection now. So connection equal to, so since we have a SQLite library, right, we can use that to create the database. So SQLite.connect. So inside is pass the db name. And one more thing, so pass the db name, and one more thing is the check same thread is equal to false. So make sure you turn this off. So we're gonna run on the different threads. So that's why check same thread equal to false. Now we have the connection, right? We can create a cursor. So c equal to connection dot cursor. So now we got the cursor object, right? Using this, we can execute all the SQL queries. So c dot execute. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a table now. So let's create the table now. So the syntax for creating a table is create table. So create table. So make sure all in caps, or create table if not exist. So the table name will be URL. So this is the table name, URLs. Inside this URL, what are the columns that we need? The first column that we need is the ID. So this will be integer, and this is also the primary key. So the primary key is used to uniquely identify a row, and we're gonna set this to auto increment. So this is one column. The another column is to store the short URL, that is the short code. So this will be the text, and this has to be unique. And finally, we're gonna store the long URL, and this is to be text. The data type is text. So that's it. So using this SQLite, we can create a table of 3 columns, that is the ID, short code, and long URL. So finally, we can commit it. So if you have to commit, then only the changes will be made. So connection.commit. So finally, we can commit the message, that is the commit the execute, and that's it. This will make sure it will create the database. We can check this if the database is created or not. So if underscore underscore name underscore is equal to the underscore underscore main, then we can run the app. So app dot run, and let's set the debug is equal to true. That is, the debugging is equal to true. So that we can see what errors are happening if we got any error. So let's try to run this now. So let me open up the terminal and write the Python script now. So let me run the Python script. So Python, the file name is app.py. You consider the Flask server has started and database file has been created. You consider urls.db, a new file has been created. Now the Flask server has started, right? But if you open up this URL here, you can see here we have a URL. Right? If you try to open this URL, consider method not found. We have to define the form page for this website. So let's try to do that now. Let's create the form page first. So let me create the form page now. So form page route. So whenever we go to the form page URL, we should display a HTML page, right? So we're gonna create a form page to submit the long URL. So @app.route. So the form route is the slash. So if you know the Flask, you will know this, right? So let's create a function. So whenever we go to the form URL, this function will execute. So the form, and inside this, first what we can do is we can return a simple text here. Inside this return, we can return anything. We can return a normal text here. For example, hi, this is URL Shortener tutorial. And if you go to the website, let me go to the website, and if you click on refresh, you consider hi, this is URL Shortener tutorial. And we can also render the HTML tags here. So let me enclose this with the h1 tag. So let me also finish the h1 tag. Let me close this h1 tag. And so let me go to the website and click on refresh. You consider now it is bold because it is in h1. Similarly, we can also render a HTML file itself instead of rendering the each tag individually. That's why we have imported this library render template. So let's use the library now, that is render template, and inside this we have to pass a HTML file. So we're gonna create this index.html file in a minute. So let's try to create that function a file now. So the index.html file should be inside the templates folder. So let's create that folder now. So templates, and inside this templates folder we have to create the index.html file. So the I have copy and paste the index.html file in my notepad. You can see that I have a sample HTML code here. Let me copy and paste here. So in this HTML file, I have a simple form that will collect the URL and a submit button. I have a input field and a submit button. That's it. And below that, if the short URL is generated, I will display that. So that's a very simple HTML form. So if there is any short URL, we will simply display the short URL. So let's try to save this and let's go to the currently initially the short URL will be none, right? So let's pass the short URL is equal to none. We will have to set this to none initially because there is no short URL initially. Let's go to the browser and click on refresh. You consider this is just a sample HTML file, and if you click on submit button, you consider method not allowed because we haven't defined anything. So when we click on submit button, the data will be sending as post method. So we'll have to accept the, you consider here you have your form, right? This will send the data in either get request or post request. We'll have to accept that into our form function. So let's try to do that now. So let me go to the app.py file, and what we can do is we can check the request, that is request that method is equal to the post method. So if the request is post method, so if request that method is equal to post, first we'll have to accept the get request as well as the post request, then only we can check. So let me do that now. So method is equal to, so initially we're gonna accept both the get request as well as the post request now. And below this, if the request is post request, then what we can do is we can extract the long URLs only. So long URL equal to, so here in the index.html file, we have a long URL, right? So request that form, we can get that. So request that form, inside this, what we can do is we can pass the name here. So if you go to the, consider here we have a long URL, right? So similarly in the index.html file, I have given a name for the long URL, that is the long URL. We can use that name to get the value. So this will give us the long URL value. Now we got the long URL, right? We have to check if the long URL is start with HTTP, and before that there's also script, so that we don't have any void space at beginning or ending. And let's check that now. So if long URL is not start with, that is, if it is not start with index HTTP :/, either we have to check for the both HTTP as well as HTTP yes, we have to check for both the things. So HTTP yes. If it is not started with these both things, then we have to append this to the start now. So let's try to do that now. So long URL equal to, so we'll have to append this at the beginning, HTTPS, HTTP, either HTTP or HTTPS, HTTP plus long URL. Now we have the long URL in a structured form, right? Then we can get the short code, that is the unique 6-character code. So short code equal to generate short code. We're gonna create this function in a minute. So what this function will do is, this function will simply generate a 6 random characters. So you can define the function below here. So def generate short code. Actually, I have copy and paste this function into my notepad as well. So let me copy and paste this function as well. Say if you open up my notepad here, you can see I have this function here. Let me copy this and I'm gonna paste it here. So basically, as I said, it will return the random 6-digit characters. You can change the length if you want. So now we got the short code, right? Then what we can do is we can get the short URL. And before that, we have to push this to the database. So let me open up your try block. So c.execute. Here we have a database, right? That is the tables. We'll have to push the long URL as well as the short URL to the database. So c.execute, insert into the URLs table, and we're gonna insert into the tables called the, here we have a short code as well as the long URL column, right? We'll have to push the values into those columns. So short code comma long URL, and we can insert into the values. So we can pass values, and here we can left a placeholder. So leave two question marks, and for these two question marks we can fill the values for it. So for that, let's open up a tuple now. So inside this, these are the placeholders, and for these placeholders we can select the values. So for this placeholder we have to uh, insert the short code as well as the long URL, right? So this will place this both these things into the table. So finally we can commit. So sheet.commit, so that is the connection.commit. So this will make sure the changes takes effect. But if there is any error, that is the, if the primary key is not available, then what we can do is we can accept it. So we accept SQLite dot integrity error. If there is any integrity error, then what we can do is we can again do the same thing, because we have to either way uh, push the short code and long URL to the database. So let's we can get the short code again by calling the generate short code function. So let me copy this line and paste it here, and let's also copy these two lines as well, because either way we have to push. If there is any error also, we have to push both these things. So that's it. And finally what we can do is we can create a short URL. So earlier you see, right, the short code will be just 6 digit characters. We'll have to open this with the URL as well. You consider this is the URL, and after this URL only we have a 6 digit characters, random characters. So we can get the URL by having a call like request.post URL. This will give us the post URL, and we're gonna upon the short code with this post URL. This will give us the short URL, and that's it. We can render the index.html file again, but this time with the short URL. This time we can pass the short URL. Earlier we passed short URL is equal to none, right? But this time we can pass short URL is equal to, this will be our short URL. So short URL is equal to, and this time we can pass short URL. That's it. Now we have completed almost 75%, right? So let me save this and let's go to the website now. So let's go to the website and I'm gonna refresh now. And let's enter some long URL now and click on short, and you consider now we have a URL. So if we try to open this, the problem is method not found. We have to accept it. We have to fetch the database and return the long URL as well. Let's try to do that now. For that, we have to create another function as well. That is the get the long URL. Let's do that now. For that, we're gonna accept the short code from the website. So @app.road, and this time we're gonna accept the short code. So / we're gonna accept a short code, right? So def redirect. So we're gonna accept the same URL as the, so what we can do is we can change this to short code. We have to accept the same thing in the function as well. This will be short code. We can fetch the database now. So connection.execute. I think this is c.execute. We have to execute now. So select long URL. Select long URL where, select long URL from URLs. That URL is the table. So select long URL from URLs where short code is equal to the short code that is coming from the route. So Just leave a placeholder like question mark, and we're gonna check is with the short code that we have now. So this will give us the long URL now. So once we got the long URL, then what we can do is we can create something like a fetch one method. There is a function called the fetch one. So result equal to connection dot fetch one. I think this is C, right? That is the cursor, that the cursor object that we have defined above. So this is C dot execute, not connection dot execute. So C dot execute, let's also change this to C dot fetch one. So we're gonna fetch the top value. Now we got the result, right? We can redirect to the URL now. So if the result is present, we can simply redirect now. So return redirect. So we're gonna redirect to the first result, that is result of 0th index. Result of 0th index. But if there is, if the short code is not available, then we can simply say URL not found. And we can return a status code like 404. That's it. We have completed our project now. So let's try to test now. I think there is some problem why we get this URL not found. Let's try to fix it now. So let's change this function name from redirect to something else, because either in the above also we have imported a built-in function called a redirect. That's the problem. We consider from this Flask we have imported a function called redirect. I think it is rewriting that. That's why we got the error. So change this to redirect URL. How we don't get any error. So I think everything is fine. Let's try to run this one more time. Let's enter the long URL now and click on shorten, and let's open this short URL. Consider redirects to the google.com. Let's enter another website like youtube.com. So let's enter the youtube.com now. You can see that when you click on this short URL, is go to the youtube.com. So this is how you build a URL shortener using Python. And if you want to deploy this to the any hosting website, then what you can do is just you can go to the Python anywhere. And if you want to get a source code for this, just go to my repository now. You can say this is my repository and click on this. So this is the URL shortener Python. I will provide the repository link in the description. You can check that out. And if you want to know how to deploy this Flask website to Python Anywhere, I have already made a video about that. So this is the Python Anywhere website. So if you want to deploy this, just search Python Anywhere Comparison. I have made many videos about it. You consider. So if you scroll down, you consider I have a video here. You consider if you want to deploy this, watch this video so that you can deploy this website and you can use it anywhere. Deploy Python Flask app and Python Anywhere. So yeah, this is for this video, and I will continue in the next one.